A photograph, according to Roland Barthes, is not just a representation of reality. It is proof that something happened before our eyes and without us. The magic lies in its contingency. It is evidence of the having been there. But what happens when we can no longer trust this illusion? As digital tools advance, imperfections are not accidents anymore. They're designed features, calculated to mimic humanity's flaws for authenticity's sake. Barthes argued the photograph's power is in its denoted message, a direct link to reality with no code, no connotations. But now algorithms can forge these links convincingly enough that we mistake their output for truth itself. The illusion of authenticity isn't just manufactured, it becomes the new standard. What's left when real and fake share the same aesthetic language? Trust begins to unravel. In the early days of recorded sound, every imperfection was a fingerprint, tape hiss, vinyl crackle, film grain. These flaws were once proof that something was real, made by human hands and machines with character. But as technology advanced, so did our ability to mimic those signs without ever having lived through them. The charm of the handmade became a marketable effect, sold in filters, presets, and sample packs. We no longer need to live the nostalgia, we can just render it. Take lo-fi hip hops, a genre built on the illusion of lived inauthenticity. Its producers lay a vinyl crackle and paper rustling to mimic the warmth of tangible media, while everything is generated inside a DA-DUL. It's not about sound quality anymore. It's about emotional resonance, about convincing our minds that we're holding something analog in our digital hands. The paradox isn't just in the medium, but in what it sells us: comfort, nostalgia, and the illusion of depth. Neil Postman warned that technology doesn't just change how we do things, it changes what we consider real. When the tools are controlled by a few, they get to decide which signs count as authentic and which don't. That's why every new medium invents its own authenticity markers, only for those two to be copied, sold, and eventually replaced. The cycle is endless. What was once proof of craftsmanship becomes mass-produced effect.
AI-generated threats represent a paradigm shift in cyber warfare, enabling hyper-personalized attacks at unprecedented scale.
The line between real and artificial is no longer a boundary. It's a war zone. Every new detection method breeds countermeasures. Every algorithmic safeguard sparks a more cunning spoof. The battle isn't just about fooling people anymore. It's about staying ahead of the systems meant to catch us in the lie. What we're seeing now isn't just deception, but escalations. A race where trust itself is the final prize. Spoofed voices, deep-faked speeches, and synthetic media are no longer tools of the fringe. In financial fraud and political manipulation alike, they're already at work. Consider how AI voice clones can mimic a CEO speech to authorize fraudulent wire transfers. These aren't just scams, but cracks in the foundation of institutional trust. This is where GANs, generative adversarial networks, become the perfect metaphors. One algorithm tries to create realistic fakes. Another tries to detect them. And they evolve in real time by competing against each other. It's not just a daily lives. It's not just a technical process. It's a mirror of our own cognitive arms race with deception. Where the better we get at spotting lies, the better the lies become.
We frightened the life out of the school's broadcasters because we played it back in a darkened room and we felt they weren't quite ready for that.
The influence of the radiophonic workshops, schools' music, lives on today.
Once, a photograph was proof of presence. What Roland Barthes called that has been. It carried indexical weight. Light bounced off a real object and captured in chemical truths. But now we live under post. Truth regimes where images are not only doctored, but generated from nothing at all. When the camera could no longer be trusted, something fundamental shifted. We lost our anchor to reality itself. If authenticity becomes an option, then sincerity itself is no longer a trait. It's a feature. A setting on our digital personas that can be toggled up or down, depending on what the algorithm demands of us. We lose not just trust in others, but in ourselves. What was ever ours? Our memories, our language, even how we feel, all borrowed, repackaged, and sold back to us as original.